All right. Well, shalom to everybody. We're a few minutes late. We had a power outage up here just as we were fixing to transition over. So I do apologize for that. If in the event the power goes out again, you at least now have knowledge of what's going on. So we're looking at They Walked with Jesus, and I hope you guys were overwhelmingly blessed last week. We're going to pick back up where we were at. And I want to start and read once again into it, but I just got to tell you, sitting here while I was waiting for everything to come back up and reading this again, just this, wow, it's so overwhelming. What a wonder when we get done to what a wonder it would be if we could learn how to have this same spiritual experience with our Creator, yeah, I think it would massively change all of us, a lot more than we realize even, maybe. So we'll come together and we say to you, Namaste. Okay, so last time we read, she was on the temple stairs. Yeshua was over teaching, and she looked at him, and he looked at her, and there was an eye contact, and so all of a sudden things begin to change, and you really, it's so beautiful. Let's just go. Okay. Dolores asked, did he talk to them, or do you think just being around them was enough? You remember she had said that she felt like this encounter with him would change the children's life even into many lifetimes. And Mary says he knelt down to them. He is on their level. He has his arms around them, and the children are excited and communicative. He seems to be able to understand all of them at the same time. Pause. He looks up at me, and intake of breath. Oh, he understands so much. Oh, she was almost overcome by emotion, and Dolores asked, what is it? And Mary, almost crying, her voice was quivering. He understands. He understands the pain in my head. He understands the knowledge that I'm not being allowed to share. Oh, he loves me for what I am able to do. It's as if this is enough to work with the children, to share what I can with their young and developing minds will be enough. It will be enough. Oh, that man, I believe that he took away the pain. And Dolores asked, did he touch you? And Mary says, no, but it's gone. She was so immersed in her incredible experience that I felt almost like an intruder. And so Dolores asked, did he speak to you, or did he just communicate this to you mentally? And Mary says, there was an understanding between our minds. He, ... he has the same burden. He has so much knowledge and understanding, and it's as if he's not being allowed to share it either. That may have been the connection between us that drew him over here. In a deep sigh, we have a similar path. We have an understanding. And so Dolores asked, did he stop talking to the crowd while all of this was happening? And Mary says, yes. He had finished with what he had to share with them. It was as if coming over to us was a very private act on his part, and the crowd was not involved in it. They were simply bystanders. They were there, and they witnessed, but they did not participate. Nor do I think they understood even what they witnessed. I wouldn't be surprised if we were invisible too, laughing. We were very, very high. And so Dolores says, what do you mean very high? And she says, oh, I mean, we were very expanded in the light. We just glowed. And the other people probably didn't even see anything out of the ordinary what he is doing now. And Mary says softly, I have a calmness now that is hard to stir myself out of. Dolores says, is he still there? Mary says, I believe he is still here. I seem to have left my body, and I need to come back into my body. And Dolores says, yes, for the children. You can't leave them there. And Mary says, oh, we're all safe. It's just until I come back into my body. I'm not much good at what we're doing. Deep sigh. She was taking deep breaths, apparently in an effort to reassociate herself. So think about that, man. Being in the presence of Source. So we see, it's kind of funny, while I was reading that, we see these pictures of near-death experiences, and the people always have an encounter with this great light. What's so beautiful about this account is that she had a near-death experience without having to have something tragic. Simply being in his presence caused her spirit to be excited and leave. What an amazing thought. That's crazy. How beautiful. Wouldn't you like 1 or 2 or 25 or 100 of those experiences? I think it's just amazing. And so Mary says it was a healing. As if he took into himself that which was so painful for me. He really has released me. And I know that's why I'm having a hard time coming back. Dolores says, maybe your head won't bother you so much anymore. And Mary says softly, it is gone. The pain is gone. I believe that's what he does. I believe that he has that ability. I believe that he could surround one of those lumps of coal and they would become a diamond. And she laughs. I believe that he has that kind of understanding and level. He's at a level that I've never known. I'm not even sure I understand that there was this level. He is still with us. We are still in the sphere of white light, but we have been suspended. We are out of time, and the children are out of time with us. And Dolores says, I imagine it's a very strange feeling, but it's not unpleasant. I wanted to be sure she was comfortable. And Mary says, oh no, who would want to leave this? No, this is a very exalted level. Wow. I wonder why the other people don't feel it whenever he speaks to them. And Mary says, I believe that they have not opened their bodies and minds to receive. It's almost as if he has given us a gift as an acknowledgement of our attainment. That he has helped us to advance on our path simply by coming over and being with us. By taking us into his light, into his vibration. It is as if he has given us a gift. We will all be different when this is over. And so Dolores gasped, then he didn't have to touch you or talk to you? And she says no. What he did was acknowledge the children on their level. As I shared with you last week, all he did is acknowledge what we... I hope that there are many people that are starting to get this revelation. It's still, I mean, I think at head level knowledge, I know this, but I'm not so sure at deep spiritual levels, or if you would, from her words, at high spiritual levels. I'm not real sure we yet understand what it means for us to be this absolutely amazing, phenomenal thing that is light. I don't know. I hope that maybe all of us get to experience just the recognition. And when I say that, that's not mental ascension. You can say, well, I believe that we are light. I heard the words and I'm convinced that we are light. And that's maybe more on a physical plane versus just simply knowing that you are truly that. And I think that that's where Source inevitably is going to desire for all of us to end up. I believe that's what's going to change this world, because it's quite apparent to me that if this world doesn't change, it's not going to go very well for any human. And so, what an amazing mindset that we could come to a place where we fully experientially, inside of us, in our minds, in our hearts, that we fully know that we are the light, that we come to the place where we can recognize that we are God's goodness on this earth. And I hope that there's some of you, I hope all of whoever comes by and listens to this, I hope that if it doesn't do anything else, I hope that you get a seed planted in you that may take even a while for it to sprout and to produce fruit. Because the first step for us to achieve that is to have a desire for that. So I want you to stop just a second. All of our lives we've had desires, and oftentimes the desires we were able to bring them to manifestation in our life. Many times when those things manifest because of our desires, we found out they were the most destructive thing for us. And so every one of us have been practicing manifestation at some form or another. I think the major problem is that we haven't come to the place where we can begin to recognize that we are manifesting and that it has everything to do with who we are on the inside as far as what is manifesting. And so, how amazing. Could you imagine being there on those marble stairs at that temple and see him and seeing this great, amazing light? It's funny when she was talking about them being covered by the light. I fully suspect that the people felt the same way when they were in the presence of Moses. I fully believe that they felt the same way when they were in the presence of Enoch, when they were in the presence of Elijah. And so I think that that's a huge blessing for us, because we actually are being given an opportunity to begin to desire the most amazing thing. If we can find our way back to the psychical, excellent, perfect light that we were created, that we saw on Saturday, did that blow any of you guys' minds? It did mine. I've been pondering that word, that we were created in enlightenment. And I'm amazed and I'm saddened because of how many people are looking for enlightenment, and we've been looking yet again for the wrong thing. Enlightenment already exists in us. So think about that when it says the Christ in you, your hope, your expectation of glory. Wow. That puts a whole new concept on that word. Wow. So Dolores, I'm going back just a little ways. Dolores asked the question, then he didn't have to touch you or talk to you. And it's just something that I've said multiple times that I think that we should give value to. Because once again, none of these things will ever manifest in your life unless they become important to you. If it is important for you to begin to move the universe in your behalf, or to line up more appropriately with the universe, it really is, the universe does what the universe does. It's up to us to line up with what the universe does. And wow, how amazing, how much healing could we see on this earth as this thing progresses, as people's frequencies change, and as we become higher. Could you imagine what it would be like if people began to really, truly wake up and walk in power and peace and love and kindness and mercy, and their sole purpose for being was to love other humans? Wow. That's your sole purpose. Your ego's gone. It doesn't matter if you're anything or nothing, because whether you're either one of those to a human is not what we're supposed to be looking for. Are we something to him? And he's already told us the answer. You are something to me. But it's up to us to accept that. It's up to us to begin to walk in that truth. And so I love that step once again where he knelt down. It brings my mind back to all the things that were written in the book of Numbers about how our Creator and how our source. The Bible, Christianity would tell you that the Bible was talking about Jesus in the book of Numbers. It wasn't. Jesus was simply one of many ascended masters, and all of them functioned on the same pattern. They were kind, they were humble, they loved people, they healed people, they helped people, they corrected people, because correction is the purest form of love. It's infinitely easier to let people die and keep your mouth shut than it is to cause yourself trouble for trying to help people. Some of you have experienced that, and you've even gotten to the place in your hard-heartedness that you don't anymore. You don't correct people that are in your sphere, your realm of control, if you would say it like that, though that might not be the best wording. But you've gotten to the point where it's just too much trouble to say something. And I think all of us probably, as we get older, we experience more and more and more of that. Well, when I was young, I didn't let my kids get away with nothing, and now I just let it go because I'm just too tired of fighting. Is there anybody out there who feels like that? Because I certainly know I have. And so, because of his vibration and the love that's inside of him, that hasn't happened. And so it does tell us a picture tonight, if we would like to lose that, and if we would like to begin the march back to our true enlightened self, one of the ways that we do that is through love. Both the easy love, which is wonderful, and the hard love, which is wonderful in its own way. And so the question Dolores asked is, no one can ever take that away from you, this relationship. And maybe it was easier for the children because they were more open. And I think that's a really profound line that we need to think about. So now take that line right there. Maybe it was easier for the children. Has it ever occurred to any of you that the hardness and the difficulty of seeing our enlightenment is because we've quit being like children? Was there more metaphoric to Yeshua saying that you must be like the little children? He just needed to show up in their presence, and they were full of joy and mirth and light and love. And he shows up in our presence, and we stand back behind him and look and see nothing. And that's the metaphor that you can draw out of this, because that's exactly what Mary is describing here. There were those who had been listening to him who had no knowledge. They weren't spiritually awake. And yet he loved them so much, he was telling them truth that they probably didn't understand even what he was saying. And then there's these other ones over here who could not only see it, they experienced it. And I don't know about you. I don't want to just see Jesus' love. I don't want to just see Source's love for us. I want to experience it. What might it be like if nothing could get to you? And she says, and no one can take that away from them. Maybe it was easier for the children because they were more open. And Mary says, yes, they are still new spirits in these young bodies. They haven't been densified. And my friend, I'm afraid that the honest to goodness truth is that we in our older ages have come to the truth toward the end of our journey. But we come to our truth in spite of, and this is the part I'm so excited about, we have come to our truth in the latter part of this incarnation in spite of the density that we are. So if he can do that with us, friend, there's hope. If you have 5 days on this earth, there's still hope. And so Dolores says, that's a good word. And indeed it is. We have been densified. Our humanity, our ego, our self-centeredness, our pride, all of those things are just bringing our vibrations down. And we all have lived in this so long, doing something different would be weird. But that we still have to do it. So that's the thing. Not that we failed. I had somebody say, well, it took you 45 years to find the truth. And it's like, you know how many people lived 80 years on this earth and died and never found the truth? Look at where we at. And I am speaking for me, but I'm also speaking for every one of you. Look at where we're at. If you have in any way been moved, and if you've learned anything, you probably, as myself, could say, but yeah, don't you remember just 10 years ago where we were? Wow. And so Mary says, they are still light. Well, I'm sure this cannot go on forever. We are returning to our everyday state. And Dolores says, which is quite different. And Mary says, yes. And so he must go. And he blesses us as he walks down the stairs, and he says that he doesn't often have this opportunity, and that it was a special treat for him as well as us, as if we were special. We were as much a gift to him as he does. Ponder that, brothers and sisters. How many of you today said to yourself, you know, I'm as big a delight to Source as Source is to me? And I know for all of us, life gets pretty heavy. You know, things go on and we get discouraged and depressed and upset and emotional and all of those things. But just stop and think about the simpleness of that affirmation. You know, I have all these things that I'm fighting today, but Source is still pleased with me. That's so foreign from where we've lived our life. Most of us have lived most of our life in shame. And now to think that Source loves us and he's not ashamed of us, that he loves us and he desires for us to be blessed, brings new significance to the scripture where we're told that I would above all things that you are blessed and in good health. Paul said that. Why did Paul say that? Because Paul also had experienced out-of-body, not dead ones. And so here's something that just seems to keep coming back as we go through this, is that how amazing would it be, friends, if we didn't have to have some horrible, nasty, massive thing to encounter a spiritual experience? What if we just did it from a place of health? Ask yourself what that might be like. And so, and I do want to say, that doesn't in any way diminish the near-death experiences. Those things are phenomenal, and those people, their lives are genuinely moved. And it may very well be that in Source's love and kindness to us, sometimes he does it kind of, he has all kinds of ways that he gets through to people. I believe it would be better if we just came to that place of humility where he desired to commune with us. For the other ones, maybe they would never get that opportunity if Source didn't do something more drastic. And so it certainly doesn't diminish them, but every one of them I've watched is a different human from before what they experienced that moment. And so they are still light. Well, I'm sure this cannot go on forever. We are returning to our everyday state. I haven't necessarily had that, but I have had some encounters that were pretty close to out-of-body experiences where I could just feel the weight of the Spirit sitting on me. One day I was scared to death, thought he was going to push me through the floor of the house, and I look back at it now and I I get bothered with myself because I remember saying, don't stop. I can't breathe. Spiritual encounter. And so Mary says yes, and so he must go. He blesses us as he walks down the stairs, and he says that he doesn't often have this opportunity, and that it was a special treat for him as well as for us. And that was one of the things that I want us, man, guys, let's just do ourselves a favor and begin to think about that in your mind. It's as great a blessing to our Creator when you come to a place of connection with him as it is for him. But that's not the paradigm that we've all lived in. And so, that it was a special treat for him as well as us, as if we were special. And I think we're going to have to continue to go forward, and we're going to have to continue to program ourselves that not as if we were, but the recognition that we are. We were as much a gift to him as he does. And Dolores says, that's very good. You did have a part to play to help him also. And Mary says, yes. She addressed the children. Well, now, children, that was an experience, wasn't it? And Dolores says, what did they say? Ignoring me, she addressed the children and then began to reflect on the experience. Mary says it like this. We can attain to that. So please open your spiritual ears. We can attain to that. That's an affirmation I would love to point out for you. When you're feeling like things are horrible, and I have plenty of times where I need to use these things, but we can attain to that. We can. As he was, so can we be. Whether you guys know it or not, that is actually a statement that Christianity refused to expose, though it is in the Bible, where John says that as he is, so are we. Seems to me like that should be the main Christian mantra verse that exists in the Bible, and most people have no clue. And I've had people tell me, well, brother, you're being pretty prideful reading that scripture and telling people that they're just like Jesus. Don't you know that? But here we find it again. As he is, so are we. As he is light, we also are enlightened. And so we can attain to that. As he was, so can we be. We have our small understandings that prepare us for larger understandings. And whether we are able to touch as many people as we want in this lifetime, we know that our souls have made enormous progress in this one moment. And if you don't know that, I would encourage you, I would desire to goad you into taking a few minutes of introspection and meditation, and just open your mind up and look back at who you were, whoever you are. I believe all of us were different 10 years ago, whatever that means. We were still different 10 years ago. And so I would say in that situation, look how far we've come. We oftentimes look at where we are blindly without looking at where we've been. And when we don't look where we've been, it's very difficult to see the change that has gone on in your life. And he says, we have achieved a gift. It's as if, the enormity of the gift is overwhelming. And maybe some of you feel that as well. How can it really be that God lives in us? How can it really be that we are the enlightenment that Yeshua was? We just don't yet know how and what it is. It's as if we have been just catapulted years and years and years ahead of our pleasant place. And I don't know about you tonight, but I feel that. I feel that. I'm not the same person I was. I've been lots of things in my life, but I know one thing for certain, and I am not the person I used to be. And I believe every one of you probably can say the same thing. That he was able to collapse time, it is as if we are many lifetimes more advanced now than we were just a moment ago. Wow. The children are now very subdued with me. They realize that we are now different. It's also time for us to readjust into our bodies and minds. It's dusk, and the parents are coming to get their children. So Dolores asks, I wonder what they will tell their parents, or if they will. And Mary says, I don't know. The children have different degrees of understanding with their parents. This seems to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and that may be what it seems like, but I'm convinced that as we grow and as we begin to have these experiences, not that we'll live in that every day, but I believe that there is a place for us to live in that much more often than just once in a lifetime. But I think that we hinder that from happening often. And so Mary says, yes, it seems that we may that way to me too, that this was an enormous gift. And so Dolores says, who was that man, do you know? And Mary says, he never spoke his name, and I never asked. But he was of the light. He was as a Son of God. Not as the Son of God. Now, did you see what might begin? Where they corrupted the scriptures to tell us that he was the only begotten Son instead of that he was a begotten Son just as we are. They hid that very slick twisting of words to make you miss the essence and to make him a false deity, which he never wanted to be, and to keep you from recognizing yet again that you also are enlightenment. And so she said he had a higher understanding than any of us have reached on the earth at this time. It's as if he was the embodiment of all of the mysteries that I had been taught, and indeed he was. That he was how it looked when you did them. He was as a finished product. What he shared with us was he elevated us to a different dimension. And by doing so, let us experience what we are capable already. I put that in there. What we are capable of already. Dear friend, this wasn't just for her. This is for you also. If we will dare to believe, we will begin to see the world around us shift for us. And by doing so, let us experience what we are capable of doing also. She sighed and Dolores says, you said he was as the Son of God. Aren't we all considered to be the sons of God? See, once again, not a Christian, but a believer. And Mary says, yes, he was just so much closer in his abilities. You know the lumps of coal that I mentioned earlier? They have a long path before they come that kind of light as of a diamond. The children and I are not lumps of coal, but nor are we at that level of light that he is. So I will say it to this. We are enlightened humans, but we have not been revealed to the light the manner in which Yeshua had been, or the manner in which Buddha had been, or the manner in which the Vedics or the Tibetan monks that have walked in enlightenment. They have a long path before they become that kind of light. The children or I are not lumps of coal, but we are at the level of light not at the level of light that he is. And all of us are returning to our light that emanates from God. And that's what this whole thing is all about, friends. Whether you recognize it every day, all of those times when you recognize the things about yourself that you don't like, that you're watching, that are changing, if I could encourage you tonight, those are pieces of your enlightenment that are coming through. They are the things where you become conscious of things that you've been doing your whole life and yet were never conscious of. The proof that we are changing are those thoughts that we have in our head when we would have never had a thought like that in the past. And so she says, all of us are returning to our light that emanates from God. Isn't that what I just read to you out of the Nag Hammadi this weekend? Returning to the light that we already are. And all of us are returning to our light that emanates from God. This man, that he would walk the earth and be at that level is, I can't grasp it. He's a very special person. And Dolores says, I don't think there are many around like that, are there? And Mary says, no, I've never met anybody like that. He has a mission. It's as if, as he left us, he was returning to the path that he had set for himself to walk. And that this side path to us was just that. It wasn't the main path that he was walking, but it certainly was a gift for all of us that he would take this detour. It was as if the children and I fed him as well. Wow, do you see how great and how huge the differences of perception? Man, if we could get a hold of this picture right here, you would be amazed how quickly our lives would begin to change. And some of your lives are already changing. They have begun. Many of you that I've talked to are growing, and sometimes growth will make you feel uncomfortable with yourself because who you are becoming is so foreign to who you have been. So please understand that just as she had to adjust, we also have to, okay, this isn't fake. This isn't just me. There is really things changing in me. And while I have to continue on the path, I can acknowledge that the truth is changing me. And as him feeding us, suddenly back to reality. And so, sigh, the last of the children are leaving. It's time for me to light the candles, and I will have much to reflect upon in my bed this night. And I'm sure that's right. Yes, you will, Dolores says, and I really thank you for sharing the experience with me. When I come again, will you speak to me of more things like this and share your experiences with me? And Mary says, I cannot believe that there will be more experiences like this. And Dolores says, even if they aren't like that, will you share your knowledge with me? And Mary says, yes, of course, emotionally. I will share my life with you. Dolores says, I would be honored if you would. Mary says, I need to be by myself now. And we also need those times. I can understand, Dolores, I can understand that. I think it is important that you be by yourself now to reflect upon what has happened. And I do thank you, and I want to come again at another time. And Mary says, thank you. Dolores says, all right, let's leave that scene, drift away from that scene, and let Abigail go to rest and reflect upon what she has experienced. And Dolores writes, I then brought Mary back to the full conscious waking state. This experience was so profound it was impossible to convey the extreme emotion exhibited on the tape. Her voice was soft and caressing as velvet as she related the experience. She was totally in awe and swept up in it. I was deeply moved while listening to her, and I tried to absorb the wonder of it by osmosis. I often felt like an intruder by asking my questions, and when I brought her forward and awakened her, she was still caught within the spell of the experience. She seemed to want to hold on to it as long as she could, knowing full well that it would soon evaporate. Although she was awake, she lay quietly on the bed, going over all the details in her mind. It was a total, all-encompassing event of incredible beauty, and she didn't want to let it go. I turned the tape recorder back on, and the following was part of the conversation with her after awakening. Mary, I can remember being in my cell where I slept with my eyes wide open. I don't know if it was still the charge of light energy around me or trying to understand what had happened, but there was no sleep for me that night. I began speaking louder and moving around the room, trying to break the spell she had created for herself. And Dolores says, yes, that was quite an experience, wasn't it? And Mary says she still wouldn't release it. It was almost as if we were removed from the earth. It was almost as if we were caught up into this sphere of light and we were out of time and space. I can't help but think that we became invisible. And Dolores says, I don't imagine anybody watching knew what was going on. They probably didn't see anything unusual. And Mary says, maybe not. I don't know how that works. And so Dolores says, you said all of those people were like lumps of coal. They probably didn't understand anyways. They probably would have just seen a man playing with the children. And Mary says, I don't know. Maybe that was an experience for them also. I think he was able to demonstrate that to the crowd. Even though we were in our very own environment, the crowd had to be able to discern the change in our physical bodies, because there was a change in our physical bodies. We expanded. The light expanded our bodies. They had to have been able to. Maybe it was a demonstration that this man was saying, this is what is possible. See these children that are pure and new and unafraid? See what they can become? And see this woman who is full of trust and faith? See how she can be transformed? This is also what you can do. I believe they saw a change of some kind. And Dolores says, yes, it's hard to tell now how much they might have seen. Well, it was very beautiful, and I think it's time to come back to the land of the living now, but it's wonderful that you can remember how it felt. You'll be able to keep that as a gift. Most people don't remember when they wake up. And Mary says, well, there was an enormous release. My whole body was unburdened, and I don't know where it went, but he was able to take it away. I don't know how he did it, but because he understood about the binding of my mind, it was as if I was able to release it, because somebody understood. And so Dolores says, do you think you'll be able to use this experience in your present life? And Mary says, I believe that this memory was a gift to me. And I hope every one of you will take what you're hearing, and I hope that you're feeling, because there's a rush of spirit power here right now. And I hope that you guys through the television are feeling the same thing. She says, I believe that this memory was a gift to me. I believe Source wants us to be so gifted that we can't even fathom how we've lived before this. And as I travel further down my path in this lifetime, that I will be able to draw on it. Remember how I said that the children, as they grew older, whether they realized it or not, would have these patterns in their life? That is what has been given to me here. Whether it stays in my conscious mind or not, it can become a part of this lifetime now. And as I need it, I will be able to use it. And Dolores says, that's very good. So we're going to stop right there, and we'll pick up next week. I hope you guys have been blessed. This is just amazing. I feel a rush of emotion and spirit presence. My head is throbbing, to be honest with you, not in a bad way. It's pounding in an amazing way. But I hope that you guys are also recognizing, I hope that some of you are starting to be able to relinquish and let go of your control of yourself. Until you do, you may miss many wonderful blessings that the Creator has put in your path through the course of your life. I think oftentimes because we get so hard, and you have to on some levels to function in this earth without getting run over all the time. But I do believe that we have the power inside of us to also learn how to overrule that, as well as to command it to come to us. So blessings to each and every one of you. Thank you for all you guys that have been kind and love me and have been the reason why I'm able to be here. And just blessings to every one of you. Our Creator has a plan, friend. It's infinitely greater than our minds can grab. We are what He told us we are. We already are enlightenment. And the minute that you begin to allow your mind to believe that is the minute you will recognize your life is beginning to change. So we come to Heart Center. Everything comes from our hearts. Namaste. Shalom to each and every one of you.